Been thinking for a little while that it might be something that I could enjoy to just verbally process on video some of the things that are stirring inside me. Sometimes I'll just get struck with a flash of inspiration, and it's not like people have the chance to just drop everything they're doing and listen to me talk for a little while. And I thought I'd video it and just share it on some of my platforms because someone out there might be interested. So I'm going to try it for the first time ever today. And today I want to talk about leadership and emotions. And this was inspired today. I was having coffee with my friend and we were talking about leadership. We were talking about some things that brought up strong emotions. And we were also just randomly talking about Nehemiah, a book in the Old Testament of the Bible. And I'm going to just reference the story of Nehemiah as if some of you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know the story of Nehemiah, check it out in the Bible in the Old Testament. It's a relatively short book, and if you're interested by this video to check it out, you can probably read it in, 30 minutes or an hour or something like that. So first, I've been thinking about some underlying assumptions, at least in Western culture. There's this idea that when we make our list of essential qualities of a leader, I've yet to see on a job description for a CEO or a head leader that anything that relates to emotional intelligence, anything that relates to empathy, or any of what we often term soft skills. I have a serious issue with defining certain skills as hard skills and other skills as soft skills, because quite honestly, you can have all the hard skills you could imagine, but if you have no soft skills, they're not going to do anything. So I have a problem with the stratification of some skills as more important or more vital. But you take a look at a lot of leaders' job descriptions, and there's absolutely nothing there about emotions, which is strange because people, we all as humans, have emotions. And when you're a leader, you're not only dealing with people's thoughts, you're not only dealing with people's behavior, but you're dealing with people's emotions. And so many leaders just haven't been trained in that, and also our systems tend to raise people up to the top levels of leadership in ways that I think are actually unhealthy for their emotions and for their ability to shepherd the emotions of the people around. So that may be another talk for another day, but here's the story of Nehemiah and what's stirring in my heart. And like I said, I'm just getting this out. I'm just verbally processing this, so it's very stream of consciousness. You might find that I weave thoughts all over the place and jump from one thought to a totally seemingly unrelated to you thought. I promise it's connected in my brain. So Nehemiah is known for leading this massive rebuilding of the wall of Jerusalem. Just a crazy and amazing leadership feat, and often Nehemiah is looked up to as this amazing strategic leader, and has the ability to rally the people, has the ability to keep them on task, has the ability to locate the resources necessary. Just a lot of leadership principles and a lot of leadership teachings come from this book of Nehemiah. However, I think what I'm offering today, it's at least new to me. I've never heard a teaching on this. I've never heard anyone talk about this before. Maybe it will be a fresh thought for you too. So before Nehemiah gets to the strategy, before Nehemiah gets to the rallying of the people, I noticed something interesting in the first few verses of Nehemiah 1. I'm just going to read it to you. The words of Nehemiah, the son of Hakaliah. Now it happened in the month of Chislev in the 20th year, as I was in Susa, the capital, that Hanani, one of my brothers, came with certain men from Judah. And I asked them concerning the Jews who escaped. Interestingly, I think good leaders actually lead with questions, and they exegete the hearts of the people, and they exegete not only information, data, also emotion from the people that they lead. So Nehemiah is concerned, and so he asks these people concerning the Jews who escaped, who had survived the exile, and concerning Jerusalem. And they said to me, the temple there in the province who had survived the exile is in great trouble and shame. The wall of Jerusalem is broken down, and its gates are destroyed by fire. Verse 4. As soon as I heard these words, I immediately got out my pen and paper and put a plan into action. No, that's not what it says. As soon as I heard these words, I sat down and wept and mourned for days. And I continued fasting and praying before the God of heaven. Before the strategy, there's actually very deep emotion. A lot of us have been told that to be a good leader, you have to keep your emotions at bay. A lot of us have been told or we've gathered from maybe not direct communication, but a lot of indirect communication, that in order to be a good leader, you've got to be rational and logical, which often can be at odds with emotion. I've actually had leaders say to me, in order to get the job done, I just have to put my emotions to one side. I wonder if Nehemiah was the leader that he was, not only because of his strategic abilities, but also because he felt deeply. Can you imagine that on a job description requirement for a pastor, for a CEO, for a top leader in an organization? We want somebody who feels deeply. For me, this also connects to something my friend Virgil taught me a long time ago. He noticed this pattern in Jesus' life where Jesus would first be moved with compassion. There's this deep, guttural, visceral feeling of compassion. And then he would be moved to a reconciling action. So he would see a need first, second, be moved with compassion, third, be engaged in some sort of reconciling action. And the actions were always different in Jesus' life, but the pattern is often showing up as the same. See, feel, do. I think a lot of times we have obliterated that second step, and we just say, see a need, do something about the need. But here, Nehemiah makes space, days it says. I wept and mourned for days. And I wonder if some of you need to make space for your feeling deeply before you jump in to this next strategic project, or before you're able to lead in the way that God has designed you to lead. What if this feeling deeply is actually connected to leadership? And then the next thing I noticed, so it actually recounts some of the prayer that Nehemiah prayed. And then a few verses down, Nehemiah just goes about his everyday business, which notably, he did not have a position of leadership. He had a position of influence, but I wouldn't say a position of leadership necessarily, at least not top leadership. He was a cupbearer to the king, and so he was just going about his everyday business. Let's see, chapter 2, he says, I took up the wine and gave it to the king. Now I had not been sad in the king's presence. And I think a lot of times, I was talking to someone recently, and I could see the tears beginning to well up, and then they would just get pushed down, and well up again, and then just get pushed down. I think a lot of times, in order to be professional, in order to garner respect, in order to be perceived as strong or capable or competent, oftentimes we're pushing those emotions down and not letting them show. But here in the second chapter of Nehemiah, he says, I've never been sad in the presence of the king, but this day the king said to me, why is your face sad, seeing you're not sick? This is nothing but sadness of heart. And that's what opened the door for Nehemiah to talk to the king about what was making his heart sad, and to get permission and resources from the king to rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. I wonder if some of us, me included, need to actually show our emotion. Stop hiding our emotion. Stop repressing our emotion, suppressing our emotion. If we need to actually show our emotion, and if that might open up a door for new avenues of leadership that we have yet to consider or to see as possible. So that's what I'm thinking today. I want to know what you think. What does this stir up in you? What messages have you received about emotions and leadership and how they go together, how they don't go together? Let's continue the conversation. If this is interesting to you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. I'd love for you to make your own video and share it with me. Let's continue this conversation on emotions and leadership. And I'll see you next time with probably another very random topic, or maybe a part 2 to this. I have no idea, and I'm not promising anything, but thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to this channel if this is interesting to you, and let's keep the conversation going.